This podcast is sponsored by CDO Group, the industry leader in providing a full range of construction and project management services. CDO Group has managed thousands of projects in all 50 states. Their group of experts provides systems, processes, and procedures to make sure that your projects turn over on time and on budget every single time. With over 24 years of experience, CDO Group is the industry's leader in construction management and general contracting services. To find them, go to cdogroup.com. Hi, and welcome to the Future of Development podcast. My name's Anthony Amunategui, and I'm here to inspire people to find amazing careers in the construction development world. If you like our podcast, please make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. If you really like our podcast, make sure you hit the little bell. This week, I'm joined by Jeremy Suard, the CEO of Exodigo. Jeremy, welcome to the show. I am excited about having you on. When we were talking pre-show, I got to go a little bit backwards on your career, and that was fascinating to me. So welcome to the show. Let's get into some of that for our guests.
Thank you very much, Anthony. I'm really excited to be on the show. So do you want me to talk a little bit about my background and my history?
Yeah, for sure. It's really fun.
Okay, so I was actually born in France. I'm in Israel right now. I moved to Israel at age 15. And then I engaged in a special program of the Israeli Army, which is the Israeli Army, which is to study before you enroll in the Army. So I studied physics at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, which is one of the best universities in Israel. And then I spent 8 years in the Army intelligence. So I just finished my service about a year ago. I'm a former major from the Army intelligence. And I really spent 8 years of my time doing AI, signal processing, solving very hard problems in one of the best technological units of Israel. And our units are very renowned for having lots of startups that come out of them. So maybe some of you are familiar, maybe not. They're called Unit 8200 and 81. And actually, a big portion of Israel's successful startups come from these units. And the main reason is because we are pushed to solve very hard problems all the time with very short timelines. And we're always on the edge. And it's kind of kindergarten before the startup school.
Kind of a intelligence boot camp. You know, they're you guys are bred into this, and you're right. What comes out of that group it's amazing. Across the industry, the technology industry, they are some of the leading tech companies that spawn from that group, and pretty amazing. Yeah, amazing group of people. We met so many good people, so many great people. And a lot of them are in our company right now. Most of our employees come from these two units. Really? So that's a pretty good place to pick from. Getting you guys all have a very similar mindset. It's always a great way to start a company where people worked somewhere and have an easy way of working together. So how did you guys come up with the idea, for really creating the technology? By the way, let's just back up and tell the audience a little bit about your technology and the company itself. So basically, myself and my two co-founders and the employees we're able to bring, we combine 3 different disciplines that are very hard to combine. And they are AI, software, and signal processing. And when you have these capabilities together, then you need a very hard signal processing problem to solve. So when we finished our service, then we sat in the garage for 4 months, ideating and thinking of what problem are we going to solve? Then we figured out that the best problems to solve are problems where there's no camera and you still need to see something. And we actually went into 2 different ideations and kind of research 2 different ideas. One in the medical field, which is how can we see better inside of the human body? And the second one is the underground. What's common about these 2 is that you don't have a camera available. Nothing can see underground or through a body. And you need really good signal processing in order to build a correct image. And in the end, we chose the underground because we really love the construction world and we saw it as the entry point for a product. And it's way more exciting to be on the field all the time and solve a real problem and be in the dirt. And our software engineers are excited. But that's what kind of the pushing point. We're like, what problem can we solve with this specific ability that we bring to the table? And we think that the underground is the perfect world for that. We bring operational excellence and all the different disciplines that we need. And it was just a perfect problem for our capabilities. It's amazing. Some of the world's biggest problems get solved in a garage, right? I mean, they start in these, humble beginnings where you don't have all the entrapments of corporate life, and it just gives you the ability to start to think about something, right? To really create an idea. That they spawn out of simplicity and looking at it. I mean, having two different places to look at it and going, all right, these are the ways we're thinking about it. And here's what inspires me. Look, being outside, getting out of the medical field, doing something in construction right now is really, getting the benefit of that kind of thinking. That geniuses from all kinds of the industry, all over the world, are now realizing it's a lagging field. That this is the opportunity to apply all these great new technologies, all these technologies, to a field that where this didn't exist. And now to start looking at it and going, all right, look, we're going to be able to see into the ground a lot clearer than ever before. That, most of the problems we have are because of unforeseen conditions. And more projects that we work on than ever, start off, their schedules are blown because we start in the ground and we try to mitigate that a lot. We spend a lot of money trying to mitigate it. And sometimes, owners don't do it because the cost becomes too overwhelming. So they shortchange that, and then the entire project kind of goes askew. And for a good word, it becomes a mess, and you haven't even started it. So you guys now start to come together, and you want to see through the ground. Now, is this drilling and coming up with core samples? How are you going to be able to see into the ground, and what's the technology you start to bring together to make that happen?
Yeah, so our product, we call it non-intrusive discovery, which means we build the best possible image of the underground and map of the underground without having actually to touch it, only from above in a completely non-intrusive way. And the way we do it is, we like the analogy from the medical world, but everybody's doing either a CT, an MRI, or an ultrasound to see inside of a human body. No one is doing all three of them at once and building one image of the body from the signals, because it's a really hard problem. And we do the exact same thing, but for the underground. So there's 7 physics that can see underground. We collect the data from all the different signals, and we create a single map of the underground that we can output to anyone who needs to see what's going on, utilities, ground layers. And it's been made possible only because of really good advances made in AI that enables you to create actually a single image from all the different signals.
So give me an idea. So how far can you penetrate into the ground, and how far can we go with this?
So in the underground, it's more a question of proportions. So you could find oil and gas reservoirs up to miles underground because they're big objects. So that's the depth for oil and gas. But utilities, because they're smaller objects, then you can discover them up to 20, 30 feet without a problem.
Okay, so now this is being able. We've had ground penetrating radar for a long time, right? Where you kind of take a lawnmower-looking device and you go back and forth over a field, and you see that image is oftentimes very scattered, tough to read. There's lots of intrusive devices that make it difficult to see, clay, shale, all kinds of things that make that visual hard to see. What's different about the technology you guys are bringing to it?
So the GPR would be one of our 7 sensors. And the good thing about the underground is that if one sensor is affected by the ground, the other ones are usually okay with this new terrain, and they usually make up for one another. So when you measure all of them all the time, you're way less sensitive to terrain condition and different types of soils and grounds. And that's our secret, to come strong, measure everything, and be able to create a good image, whatever the terrains and the conditions.
I mean that's neat. So now you've got 7 different scanning devices that are all combined into one piece of equipment that now goes back through it and does the MRI, the ground penetrating radar, all of these different technologies at one time, and the AI takes it and puts the picture together. So how detailed can you get into this? I mean, can you see diameters of pipe? Can you see how specific can you get?
So it's an evolving process. We believe that we can reach what we call a full 4D model, which means actually seeing the geometry of the different utilities and ground layers. Right now, we're only able to get some physical properties, which are still a lot more than you can get today, but it's starting. Yeah. as we evolve and measure more data, we as a human, you can see a difference between a small pipe and a big pipe in the signals. So our AI will be able to figure that out as we evolve with the data.
Well, and I think that that's what's really fun is that you guys have taken this step, which look, I applaud you. I mean, taking the step and seeing the opportunity to combine different technologies, that's what's available right now. Like there are literally people that are racing to the finish line to the start line. People are racing from their garages to a start line, and like you guys are, and you're racing to take the technology and start to continue to develop it. Right, everything that gets started with one step at a time, and that's really it. Right, you have this idea. And then we go from an idea to really creating, the first evolution of it, and then the second evolution of it, and the third evolution of it, and that's the exciting stuff to do. So you guys bring a group together, right? So you guys all were in a very similar field or a group in the military. Now you come together in a garage and you come up with this idea. And you start to go out and start to master and develop it. Tell me about the ups and downs of that, right? I mean, this is something that what people don't get is all of the things that it takes to build a company, right? That's stepping through the fear, getting up every day, on the good days and the bad days, and keep developing. All this. I mean, look, to me, that's as important a process as what you guys are creating. Here, this technology will change the construction world. Being able to now, something else. You guys do this in a drone. It's not just on you're doing this device. We forgot to mention that whole part. You can fly over a piece of territory and get much larger components of it very quickly, right? I mean, that is revolutionary. That is something that no one's thought of to date. You're pushing a lawnmower back and forth over very small ranges to get that. And if you miss one linear foot of a terrain, the model's off. Being able to fly over it with a drone, that is going to change the industry, right? And the amount of speed by which you can do that. Now, I know I skipped over kind of that question there, and we'll go back to it here. But as you fly over the terrain, tell me all the things that you're able to capture.
So actually, it's unintuitive, but if you fly a drone or move what we call a cart on the ground, it doesn't really matter for the AI software. What the AI requires is that the sensors be moved in a certain pattern with the GPS location. And what moves the sensor, we call a platform. And it's pretty wide. Right now, we work either with drones or carts because sometimes you can't fly a drone, so you can't. But whenever you can fly a drone, we would use a drone. It covers very big terrains very fast. But it can also be on satellites sometimes for some of the sensors, or on submarines, or on a drone on Mars in the future. So the platform side of the company is actually, it doesn't really influence the AI models. So that's why we're able to use lots of different platforms. And our preferred one is the drone because, like you say, it's really cool. And it can cover super vast distances. But as soon as you do the path that the AI requires, then you're okay for the software. And what you see on the ground is a question of software. So our first software can see underground utilities. That's what's available for demos in the US, starting from next week. We have a team that's ready to roll in California. And later on this year, with the same pod that flies over the ground, we'll be able to add some natural ground layers. And the only difference between the two is the AI software we train. One of them we train to discover straight lines and get all the properties out of them, conductive, metallic, plastic. And the other software we train to see natural ground layers.
That's amazing, right? So the as it gets trained, right, as the AI starts to get trained and starts to look at like pipes and electric lines and see all the underground utilities, which is that's a great one. But being able to start to look at ground layers and start to look at compaction and density and all those other components of ground, I think that's. Obviously that's going to be something that really, speeds up the amount of information you get about a site, right? I mean, as we look at the site, to be able to get a 360 degree view of the Earth, from above, being able to look down into the Earth and multiple layers of it, that technology, as you continue to develop this, makes it so much smarter to start, right? Because right now we get a couple of core samples from a few areas, and I don't know how. I honestly, I don't know how, but it seems like the core samples always miss the things that weren't supposed to miss.
That are interesting.
Yeah.
It's like looking through a straw. You're looking at the underground through a straw.
Yeah, that's exactly
right.
So
we want to complete the image between the core drillings. So you have a complete map of the underground.
And that's really here, and that straw view makes it difficult at best. And at the time, it was revolutionary to be able to see that, right? And at least we had that for a minute. And you try to get a couple of key areas. Maybe we had footings or foundations or a couple of deep parts of the project. But ultimately, there was something right in the middle of it that was missed, and now you find a burial ground or a buried car or some bad earth that we didn't expect, and now we've got we blow a budget because of the continued budget leakage, or just not knowing in advance makes it a lot harder. When I'm bidding a project out, things during the bid process, things cost me 75 cents on the dollar, right? Because people are bidding to get it. But when I get it on a change order, and the time delays that it costs, it's $2 on the dollar, right? For every change order costs me, 2 or 3 times what it would cost me in the bid. If I would have known this and be prepared for it, stopping a project in a change order and then reassessing because we found bad dirt or found bad earth or found an object that we didn't expect on the ground, that delay just starts the whole rest of the sequencing of problems. The commitment to the rest of the subs, the expectation on subs. When I tell a group of people, hey, we're going to start footings and foundations on Monday, 3 weeks from now on this day, and day one we're already missing that. It starts to really create a communication to the rest of the group that, hey, this schedule we put together isn't worth the paper that it's written on. And a lot of that comes from we didn't have great information going into it, right? And that's like the whole business is, bad information in starts bad information out. So, I think that's interesting. So talk to me a little bit about how you start to identify these products. How are you guys looking at it? Are you developing one of the 7 technologies at a time and then bring them together? Or talk to me a little bit about that.
Okay, so we leverage current technologies. So the sensors from all the physics are very good. A lot of them come from the mining industry. Some of them come from the utility industry, and some of them from the oil and gas industry. But we don't build sensors. What we do is we buy the best sensors from the best vendors in the world, from every different one of these industries. So it could be also the automotive industry for different radars. We go to all the spectrum of industries that have built state-of-the-art hardware. We buy all the sensors, and what we build is the data acquisition system that pairs them together with high-accuracy GPS, and then enables people to scan on their terrain with it. And that's not even our real core IP. That's an enabler that we need to do so that everyone can scan on their own terrain. Our real core IP is actually the AI that builds a picture out of all those signals.
Are you using GPS for this, or are you using total stations? What are you doing to get the datum line that brings them all together? What's the way that AI? Obviously, to get all these layers combined to be able to get them all to be synchronized, that's a trick in itself. So talk to me a little bit about how the AI identifies that.
So that's even before the AI. We solved that at the data acquisition part. We pair the sensors with high accuracy GPS and lots of different sensors that will enable the GPS to be GNSS, like accurate to an inch, even in urban environments. It's actually a very complicated problem to solve.
Yeah.
So we solved that on the platform. And what's even more complicated is, let's say you solve the GPS issue, is how do you combine it with the signals so that every bits and bytes of the signals where they were located. And that is super important because the AI needs those signals stacked. So you were saying earlier that we have all the sensors in a pod. That's the product we're building. But because we don't want to waste time, now you would have 1 or 2 of these sensors at once and do multiple passes, each one of them paired with a GPS. And then the computer software receives all those signals stacked on one another, and it doesn't even know it wasn't one scan. So that's how we operate. And it's specifically hard in urban environments. And then we would use a lot of different sensors like IMUs combined with the total station to get a precise location of the signals. When you are on a drone, life is easy. Like the drone companies already solved that for you.
the applications for this are endless, right? I mean, we can go from, all kinds of life safety stuff, all kinds of search and rescue. You can get, and this can not just apply to construction, but this technology you're creating is the spark that you can't even identify all the things that it'll be able to do once you're able to combine this, right? As you start to look at and you solve each one of these solutions, which is, I think, genius, is that, keeping them separate and mastering them even though they're separate, that, the AI is the most important part of it. It feels like while that's solving the one problem, the technology that's used to scan, the scanning technology, will continue to develop at the same time. So there's kind of two separate growth platforms that keeps getting better and better and better and better. So that's interesting way to look at it, right? So, so have you guys seen any new spots you did not expect to apply this to as you're doing it? Anything pop out that you did not expect to be able to use this for?
Yeah, our goal now is to do rare metal exploration on Mars with SpaceX and Elon Musk.
Listen, I mean, that's
we're gonna be there.
Listen, I mean, you're gonna be the ones to find. I mean, everybody's looking for that life out there, and I think that's really once you get this AI down, and you just jump a ride, one of those SpaceX rockets, you've got. It might be time to give Elon Musk a call. Hey, by the way, when you call him, can I tape it? I just want to hear this conversation because it's got to be awesome.
I would love to call him. He has so many companies that are relevant for us. Do you know the Boring Company?
Yeah.
They dig up new tunnels.
Yeah.
Then we want to scan their path before they dig a tunnel so that they know what they're going to encounter on the way. And we want to do discovery on Mars with SpaceX. So that's kind of the vision of the company. We are going to build a platform that's the best underground imaging and mapping platform in the world for any use case. And that's the vision of our company. That's why our dream is really big. We start with the construction world, which is the most interesting, has real life problems that we need to solve right now. And it's actually a world where we have a lot of scale. Right now, we start with big construction projects, but our vision there is that anyone who buys a new home, he could order on Amazon or Exopod and scan the area and see if the soil is contaminated, or where is the water level, or are there any utilities in my terrain before you even buy the terrain. So we like you said exactly, we have a vision of scale, which is on the operation and hardware, and a vision of giving the best image possible ever for any industry that has any interest in looking underground. Yeah, and I want to add something else that you said, that it saves time and money, but it also saves carbon footprints, because when your project takes longer and you dig some more, that's the carbon footprint of a project. If you save 10% of a project's cost, it also means you reduce by 10% the carbon footprint of the project. And this is a very interesting angle for Exodigo. And we aim at reducing carbon footprint for the construction world. And we think that we will have a really big impact on that. Because with great design, you save a lot.
For sure, there's no doubt about it that better data in, saves so much. It saves everything about the project. The thing that sitting in this chair, interviewing all the people I get to interview, the number one thing that we can just start with, if we just had better information about the projects that we do. I had some great folks on the other day from a company that builds hamburgers that they're working on a zero carbon footprint. And they said to me, look, I don't have to create anything new. Literally, we just went and thought, all we did is we went to the marketplace and took what was existing and just reapply it in a different format than people were using it. Very similar to what you're doing now, taking that, and then now you're just taking existing technologies out there and now creating the AI that combines those together. That's a phenomenal way of looking at it. And, at the end of the day, that's what's going to change what happens in our projects, speed the market, safety, all that stuff that really makes people go home safer, makes the model easier, less expensive. All the things that we're looking for. That's been a mess. All these little holes of cost and delays that mess up our construction world. as you guys continue to develop this product and go across the world, I'd love to show it off every time you guys do a new rollout someplace. I'd like to be there. I'd like to make sure that we're there and we're showing your product off. It's great work you're doing. I'm inspired. I'm inspired by that. When are you doing demonstrations somewhere? When you have one coming up soon?
Yeah, in a week actually in California. We're doing a big demo on March 14, another one a week later. So I'll keep you posted.
Yeah. Make sure I get some invites on that. And
we're engaging with the construction and utility community. There's a very big community in the US that does damage prevention. And our product is going to really help the community. And we're building it with them since day one. So we're showing them what it can do, brainstorming with them how it could be used, and what are the implications. And so we engage early on that community.
To all those would be garage entrepreneurs that are sitting out there right now, that are listening to you and what you're doing, and I'm applauding you. Look, this is what's going to change the world is stepping out there and bringing these great ideas to the marketplace. And Exodigo, your team, I applaud all of you. Are you guys looking to bring some people on? If people are interested in coming to work for you or joining your team, where can they find you and how can they jump on board this new venture?
Yes, we're actually going to grow our US team within the next year. So we're searching for people from the industry that know the industry and want to improve it. And in order to be an Exodigo, you need to be like a fighter. You need to want to succeed. We want hunger. We want people who want to succeed at any cost and want to change the world. That's the kind of people we're searching for.
Well, that's our audience. I can tell you that the feedback I get from our audience is they are just relentless at trying on new stuff. They're pushing me. They push me all the time to do bigger and better things and continue to grow this and have brighter and brighter guests on that can inspire them. And it's great having you on, Jeremy. If you want to get a hold of you directly, where can they get a hold of you?
You can reach me at jeremy@exodigo.ai. That's the easiest way. And do you want me to answer the question about the roller coaster? Because we have a really good story on how the company was born.
That's right. Tell me about the roller. Yes, yeah. Hold on. We're going to go back. Yes.
We skipped that.
Yeah. Can tell. Yes.
So the three of us, when we finally got to the idea in April, it was in April 2021. Then we're like, okay, we have this awesome idea. And we started thinking, who do we need to hire for that? And we counted 15 people that we need on day one, all of them from the Army. And when we started talking to investors, we understood, people told us, okay, raising money is a long process and they need to know you. So we decided we don't have time to that. And we actually took the risk to hire those people before we had any money in the bank. And we told them on June 1st, we will have an office. We will have funding. Let's meet there. And people actually quit their job to come and join us. And then we started talking to investors. We had a lot of luck. We met amazing investors who believed in us and in our dream. Amazing angel investors who were with us the whole process in the ideation. And we had the money in the bank before the employees arrived. And since then, we've been like a roller coaster, hiring ahead, planning on how we can succeed on this very complicated mission. And it gets very hard. It's a very hard world, the construction world, because it's just been made available to startups in the last 2-3 years. Before that, venture capital money was very hard to get for those markets. And so that's the good thing about it. The bad thing about it is that everything is hard, which is a good challenge for us. So in that business, you need to excel at everything. Well, on the business side, be close to your clients. On the operation side, on the technology side, and every day you have a new problem.
Well, I mean, like every business, I mean, it takes a little bit of excuse the word language. It takes a little bit of being nuts and just going for it, right? It takes a little bit of saying, "Hey, are you into this?" And I mean that being an entrepreneur myself, going through it and doing something that others aren't doing, it takes it. I call it being bold, right? It doesn't feel like you're being bold. If sometimes it feels like I'm being nuts, right? Having an idea that no one else wants to how to, or I have no idea how to do it. Jordan Peters says you got to be willing to kind of look silly at it, right? You got to be willing to not know what you're doing, to kind of be an idiot for a minute, and be bold, to stand out there and go, all right, I don't have all the answers, but I can see a problem and we're going to solve it. I'm going to bring great minds together. That's key right there. Finding those great.
That's the secret.
That's the secret right there. Bringing them together. And look, having that group of people that you guys came from, that's a pretty good start. I can look back over my career and see when I hired great people, there was kind of like a mixture. The first people I hired were friends, and because I thought I had to, right? And they were friends, and I would take them and I would duct tape them together to a stick and hold them up. And they were, they didn't know anything, but they didn't have jobs. And then, it was kind of like that was my first level of starting. And but at the time I was still putting the ideas together, the stuff that I wanted to do. The first time I started a project management company, I would call people and they're like, whoa, what are you talking about? And that company, just in talking to potential customers, we were creating the idea, right? Because we didn't have it all figured out. I would call people when we started CDO Group as a construction management company. 25 years ago, people didn't outsource; they did it in-house. It was not something they did. I would call people and they're like, "Well, we've got employees." I'm like, "No. We just want to do your overflow work." Look, you go through these peak periods. Why hire people? Hire for the low, not the peak, and we'll do your overflow stuff. And then all of a sudden it became, well, why do you have a construction team to begin with? You sell hamburgers or you sell clothes. Well, why do you have you really belong focusing on your core business? Well, we don't have people with trust that can handle our construction for us. Well, we're going to give you a team of people that can do that, and it'll be a flat fee. And now it's something you can put on your, and we solve the problem. And we actually created the company every time we talked about it. And I think that's, I can hear that in your voice. Every time you guys talk about it, every time you bring it up, every time you go through this, you're actually inventing and creating it. And it just, once I started hiring smarter and smarter people, that acceleration happened so much faster. And bringing great people to the table that's the key. Great entrepreneurs. If there's one thing I would honor every great entrepreneur out there is saying, look, as fast as you can find smart people and have them, talk them into come and help you develop, right? Get them involved and create them with you. The faster, the smarter the people you can find, the faster you can bring them together. And, it's hard because sometimes you're like, I don't want to give away too much. I don't want to right? There's a lot of stuff that goes into that thought, but, smart people working together.
Super important. There's another thing that's very important. That's what we're doing this year is coming with a lot of humility to the industry. And that's why this year we're doing demos. We want different types of clients. Could be anyone, a utility locator, an engineering firm, an EPC, a utility company, an owner of a project that has a big project going on and wants us to come to his terrain and demonstrate the capabilities of the product. We want to do that this year because that way we can show the client what it can do. And more importantly, we can learn what it should do because we're very much at the learning phase for the fine tuning of the product. And we want it to be a perfect fit for the market. And that's what I teach my superstars guys is come and listen to the clients and make sure you build something that they really need and will make their life better.
Well, I've got a couple of projects in mind. I mean, maybe we'll have you come do a demo on one of our projects. We've got a couple of projects that are getting ready to start in May that may be a perfect spot to look at that. So as you continue to do this, I mean, that's the step, right? That's the place to go is talk to the customers, right? Be brave and be bold and be humble. Be humble enough to hear them and like, all right, what is it exactly that you need? Where is this?
They've been building for 100 years. They don't need you to build. So don't come and tell them, I'm going to change your world.
That's right. Right here. And what is it? Where are the breakdowns in the stuff you're getting? How long is it taking to get the information? Why is this information, why is this information working? Why is it not working? And I think that's fun.
Yeah, very exciting for us.
Well, keep going. Keep being a little crazy and a little bit excited, just an ounce of craziness and a couple of ounces of excitement and just a little bit of not giving up and trudging the road to happy destiny is your future, and it's it's many, many blessings I send you, and I look forward to having you guys on again. Thanks for joining us. My name is Anthony Amunategui, always looking for people to bring insight into the industry, finding ways to inspire people to have amazing careers in the development world. If you liked our podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. If you really liked our podcast, make sure you hit the little bell. Thanks again for listening. Please share it with your friends.